Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. In this video, we are talking about factoring trinomials when the leading coefficient is not 1. Now, in this video, we will only be working with the slip and divide method. In my class, I usually say slip and slide just because it's funner to say, but it is the slip and divide method when your leading coefficient is not 1. As always, if I make a mistake, please let me know where the mistake occurs so that way we all can learn from my mistakes. That way you don't make your own. I did pre-write some steps here, so let's go ahead and start reading them, and I am going to do an example while we are reading the steps. Step number 1 is, even before we start with step number 1, you always want to check for GCF first. Is there something that we want to pull out? So 3x, what is in front of x, it's a 1. If it's missing, it's just 1. And then 2. So 3, 1, and 2, there's nothing really for us to factor out as a GCF. So then we will move out to the actual first step. Step number 1, it says slide the leading coefficient. So this is our A value, the leading coefficient. You're going to slide it over to the C value, which is your constant. And you're going to actually multiply these. So what you're going to end up having is x squared plus 1x minus 2 times 3. So then we have x squared plus x minus 6. So then we slide it over, and then we rewrite the trinomial. Step number 2 is now use the guess and check method, assuming that now your A value here is 1. So I'm going to do that off to the side. Remember, guess and check is in the previous video. So we're going to multiply to our C value, which is -6, and we're going to add to the B value, which is 1. I'm going to take that -6, I'm going to write out some factors for it. I know 3 times 2, but we need one of them negative, is -6. I know 2 times -3, oh, that's the same thing. Let's make 2 negative. And then I need them to add up to 1. Positive 1. So it would have to be not this one, but it'd have to be this one because -2 plus 3 is a positive 1. So my factors are -2 and a positive 3. So now that we've used guess and check, which is this step number 2 here, we're going to move on to step number 3. Once you found the factors, write them as our standard factored form. So I'm going to write this as our standard factor form here. And I have x minus 2 and x plus 3. Step number 4 is now divide each factor. So here are our factors. Here's -2 and here's 3. You're going to divide each factor by the original A value. So what was the original A value we multiplied? It was 3. So I'm going to take that 3 and I'm going to divide each of the factors by 3. From here, you're going to move on to step number 5. If the fractions simplify, you're doing a happy dance. However, if the fraction does not simplify, meaning to a whole number, what you're going to do is you're going to take that denominator and you're going to bring it up as a new coefficient in that bubble. For example, here. 2 divided by 3 cannot be simplified, so it stays. 3 divided by 3 can be simplified to a 1. Now this 3, because we cannot simplify it, we take that 3 and we're going to write it as a new coefficient to my x and only in this bubble. So I'm going to have 3x, it's a weird looking 3, but that's a 3. Minus 2. Once you move it, it goes away in the denominator. And then we have the secondary one, which is x plus 1. And that is our factored form of the given trinomial. Let's do that a few more times. Step number 1, GCF, if we have one. I have 5, 17, and 6. There's nothing in common that I can pull out. Step number 1 is take the leading coefficient, slide it over, and multiply. So I'm going to have m squared minus 17m plus 6 times 5. So that means I have m squared minus 17m plus 30. From here, you're going to use the guess and check method. Two numbers that multiply to 30 and add to a negative 17. The only two that are coming to mind for this one here is 15 times 2. 15 times 2 is 30. However, I need this to be negative, so I'm going to say negative 15 times negative 2 is a positive 30. However, negative 15 plus negative 2 is negative 17. So these are my factors. This one is not. So I have a negative 15 and I have a negative 2 here. So now I'm going to write out my factors just like I usually do in the guess and check method. I'm using m instead of x because that is my variable. My first factor is 15. My second factor is negative 2. After this, you're taking your original leading coefficient here and you're dividing each factor by it. So originally we multiplied by 5, but now we're dividing by 5. See if it simplifies. This one does. Happy dance. M minus 15 divided by 5 is 3. This one does not simplify, so I'm going to rewrite it as it was. Taking that denominator of 5, because it was unable to simplify, I'm going to take it and I'm going to move it out here. So now we have m minus 3, and we have 5m minus 2. And these here are the factors for the given trinomial. Let's do one more example here. I have a 10, a 75, and a 35. 10, 75, 35. My original guess was that we'd have a GCF, a greatest common factor of 10, but it's not 10 because 75 and 35 cannot be simplified by 10, but I know I can pull out a 5. 75 divided by 5 is 15, and 35 divided by 5 is 7. So I can pull out a 5. Let's do that. Pull out a 5. Left over, I have 2k squared plus 15. Let's double check that. 15 times 5 is in fact 75. K plus 7. Remember, this is our GCF. Do not forget it in your final answer. Now, looking into this bubble only, I'm going to be working here. I'm going to leave the 5 out, but I will remember it for our final answer. Taking my leading coefficient here, I'm going to multiply it by 7, giving me k squared plus 15k plus 14. Guess and check method. Now that we have a is 1, we want things to multiply to 14, and I want to add them to 15. In my brain, I'm thinking 14 times 1 is 14, and 14 plus 1 is 15. So my factors are positive 14 and positive 1. Going back here, writing it as usual. This time we're using k because that is our variable. K plus 14, k plus 1. Don't bring down the GCF just yet. I was going to do that. Hold up a second because we multiplied by 2. So now I have to take this 2 and divide it here. The same 2. K plus 14 divided by 2 is 7. Happy dance there. This one does not simplify because it's 1/2. So I'm going to take this 2. I'm going to bring it out here inside the bubble as a coefficient. And we have 2k plus 1. Now I'm going to take this greatest common factor. I'm going to bring it down and place it with the rest of my answer. All right, beautiful people, that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!